Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is a handover of a Dethleff Black Magic Edition. So as I start the walk around on the driver's side of the vehicle first, the first point you get to is your habitation door. So your habitation door opens with the Dethleff key, so you can put it in, up the lock, up to open, down to lock even, that's it locked. So down to lock, up to open. Then you get your mains electrical point. So this is how you connect the vehicle to household mains, if you're on a site or if you were charging it at home. So you get your hooker bleed and you'd lift the collar, expose the terminals and connect to the vehicle. Connect the motorhome up first, then the power source, whether it's the socket in the garage or on site. You always want to avoid walking around with a live lead. Then you have your cassette toilet. So to open and bring the cassette out, what you've got to do is make sure that the blade is closed, which I'll talk about more inside the vehicle when we do the washroom. But once you lift the orange handle and the cassette starts moving, you can get the cassette out. You then either carry it or wheel it with a handle to the waste disposal point. Once at the waste disposal point, you'd remove your grey cap and press the orange button. This will allow you to empty the content of the cassette out. Once you have, there's normally a tap there, so now's the time you'd put some water in and give it a quick rinse, and then you'd want to go back in with some chemical. So this is where your cap comes back in. It's 120 mil. You can see it goes 60, 75, 160 mil, 120 mil even. Cap full of either the blue or the green liquid, depending on what the site wants you to use, into here, and it's good to go back into the motorhome and be used. External shower point. So if you want to hose yourself off after being on the beach, the dogs from being in the woods or covered in mud, as long as the hot water's been on, you can use the hot side. And as long as the 12-volt system's on, obviously the pump will work and you'll be able to get a pressurised flow of water out here, but making sure that you've got enough water on board and that your boiler's closed if you're going to use hot water. External gas barbecue point. So if you want to power your Kadak that you're carrying in your garage, this will use the main bottle on board instead of carrying a spare bottle with you. And it's simply a bullfinch connection, so you'll get a red bullfinch connection here that you need to turn. Then you'll need to, on the other end of the hose, you'll need a Jubilee clip and some orange hosing to connect to your Kadak or external barbecue. Garage area. So it's a step garage. You've got a bit at the back and then you've got some underneath. So you've got carpets, carb carpets, tool kit, which includes a jack and a brace and a tow eye, a puncture repair kit there, so a fix and go kit with the gunk in. But if you do get a flat tyre, try and blow it up first without using the gel inflation kit, because once you do use it, your tyre is then has to be replaced. Whereas if it's just a small little nail in the tyre, as long as it's not in the sidewall or a little puncture, you can get that repaired. Whether as soon as you use that, you do need a new tyre. Got a light here. You've got your gas isolation point there for your barbecue, so any problems with that leaking gas, you can isolate it there. You've got corner steadies here, so this is your steady handle. You shouldn't really need it on a motorhome, but if it's going to be windy, you might want to pop them down. I'll pop that into there, and then you can wind the leg down, and that will just support the stability of the vehicle in the stronger winds. But always make sure these are put up before you travel. but it depends how often you're going to use them, as you don't really need to use them all the time. So as we walk around to the back of the vehicle, you've got your high level brake light, your reversing camera, your parking distance sensors in the back, your ladder, so you'll be able to using the Dethleff key, same as your habitation door key, taking the little strap on that the customers put on, fold your ladder down and gain access to your roof for cleaning, maintenance. You can get on there, but always make sure that this is securely fastened back up, because you wouldn't want that coming down when you're driving. So make sure that it's then locked back into place, and for peace of mind just put that added strap on that the last customers had on the vehicle. Now on the passenger side, so you've got LPG, liquid petroleum gas. This is your gas locker. So in here you've got 2 refillable gas glow systems bottles. So these are 2 6-kilogram bottles. You refill them at a petrol forecourt and LPG centre. If you're going to take this abroad, it's far easier to have them on than standard colour propane bottles, because you can find LPG almost anywhere abroad. But to turn your bottles on and off, this little dial here on the end turns it on and off, and you can see the level on the top of the bottles. So they're both in the green, which means that they are full or near enough full. So you can turn them on and off there, and it tells you that it's green on the top of the regulator, which means that the gas is okay. There's gas in it. But to refill, this is your filler point. Being it fitting in there, so you go to your LPG centre, go to the pump. It'll be like a gun fitting, so it's a big round end that goes onto here. You need to turn it to lock it onto the bayonet fitting and pull the trigger back. Then you can press the display button on the display pump until it simply doesn't take any more, and then this is when you know that it's full. Something like that should take about £25 to fill. Boiler flue, so that allows the gases out when operating on gas, and it also gives the location of your boiler, which is behind your back lounge seat on this side, on the passenger side of the vehicle. Underneath the van, you've got another corner steady this side. Two fridge vents, vent behind the oven, just allow the heat out. Freshwater intake, so this is how you'd fill your freshwater tank, which is underneath your dinette seat. So it's a lockable cap. Buy yourself a hose pipe with some hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap on most site. So either a foldable one of these 25-meter expandable hoses, or a normal one. Put the flat end into here and fill until simply it won't take any more. So if you want a full tank, just wait until it's basically run out the side of the van. This is when you know that the fresh water tank is full. Or you can see on board on the control panel how much water you do have on board. Underneath here is your wastewater, so this is any water that you've used, which is here. And you turn this handle here and allow your wastewater out. So anything that you've drained down a plug hole, and especially in the winter, you want to make sure that this is 100% drained off and left open. But normally once you've had your stay on your site, before you leave, you go over the wastewater outlet, grey water, or could be called grey water, and allow the dirty water out of the vehicle, because you wouldn't want to carry this about, because it's added weight and it'll impact on your payload and your fuel consumption. Diesel filler at the passenger door, which opens with the main ignition key. Tyre pressure, so 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi all round. Engine battery lives underneath this compartment here, so if you ever need to replace it or put a charger on, you need to lift this panel off. and then your bonnet release is on the side of the dashboard. So for all your fluids, the main one you're going to need is your screen wash. When you're driving in the summer, you'll be going through loads of screen wash because of the flies. Screen wash, power steering fluid, brake fluid and your coolant, followed by your oil filler and dipstick, and then your earth. You're giving or receiving a jump start as the battery's underneath the cab floor. You'd earth by the headlight, and then your positives just underneath this cover here for giving or receiving a jump start. Above the habitation door, you've got your 12-volt control panel. So to turn the 12-volt on and off, you've got this little button here in the left hand corner, so that turns it off and on. And then when you're receiving 230 volt, you'll be able to use all main sockets on board. If not, you will just use 12 volt off your leisure battery. Interior temperature, exterior temperature, voltage of your van battery, which is up the side here, voltage of your leisure battery, and you can see there it's showing voltage and ampage on the dial there for the leisure and the vehicle battery. Fresh water, wastewater is empty, and then you do have the reserve button, which doesn't do anything at the moment, but if you ever get anything wired, you can wire it to the reserve button, followed by the clock, which you just pull out to change the time when the clocks go back and forth. And that is your 12 volt control panel. To operate your heating and hot water in the vehicle, it's these dials here, which is next to your 12 volt control panel above the door. And this is your Truma Combi E unit. So you'll notice you've got 1 to 5 here on the outside dial. 5 is the temperature, being 30 degrees being 5. 3 in the middle is about 15 to 20 degrees, so that is how hot you want the motorhome. And then the dial behind it, so it's showing off at the minute, you've got 2 settings at the top. So you've got 60 degrees of water only, which is the hotter temperature, or you can have the lower temperature of 40 degrees of water only. Off. And then you've got the gas flame, which is heating only. So that's kind of like winter mode. So if you're using it and you wanted to heat the vehicle, but you didn't have any water in the boiler or on board, you can just heat the vehicle on its own. Or if you want to heat the vehicle and heat the water, it's the bottom one, heating and water, heating the water at 60 degrees. And then you would adjust your thermostat here, C5 being 30 degrees. This one is what source you want to run off. So depending if you're on site, if you're wild camping, or you want to use both sources together if you're away in the winter. So starting at the top, you've got 2 wiggly lines. This is electric on 1800 watts. So that's the higher output on electric. The lower output being 1 wiggly line, which is 900 watts of electric. So if you're on a site, you tend to use 1 or 2 kilowatts depending on the amperage they give you. As you've paid the site fees, you will not want to waste your gas. However, if you were wild camping, you would turn it down to gas only, and this would use your gas. So making sure that your gas bottle is got enough gas in and that it's turned on, you'll be able to use gas to heat the vehicle and the water. And then you've got gas and 1 wiggly line, which is gas and 900 watts of electric together. Or you've got gas and 1800 watts of electric together. So this will reduce the time it takes to heat your water or the vehicle, more so in the winter when you're away and it's cold, you'd use both sources for about 10-15 minutes, and then you'll want to turn the gas off and go back up to the electric, because as I've said, you've paid your site fees, you'll not want to waste your gas. In the kitchen, you've got a 3 gas burner ring, so all the controls for that are down here. You like it, don't you? In the kitchen, you've got 3 lit gas rings there, so controls are just here, but you will need a gas lighter to ignite the gas, as there is no 12-volt ignition on the hob. Once you've had it on, turn them off and allow them to cool before you put the glass lids down, otherwise you can shatter them with the heat. But above, you've got a light, and you do have a extractor fan on the Dethleff extractor hood, storage in the top, followed by a 230-volt socket and your lights. Gas isolation valves for the oven, the hob, the fridge and the boiler. Any problems with gas, turn the bottle off to be safe, but you can isolate the appliance that you think is causing the problem by turning it like so. These are mainly for when the vehicle is serviced and the gas is checked in line with the National Caravan Council standards for the gas. Slide out condiment drawer, storage, cutlery drawer underneath the oven, and then you do have the Thetford triplex oven, so you've got oven on the bottom that's lit, and then above you've got your grill. You may want to take these out or wrap them up when travelling, as they can be the main cause of vibration and rattling when driving along the road. To work the Dethleff fridge freezer, so your 3 sources are controlled by this dial here. So you've got off on the top. If you're wild camping and you weren't on mains 230 volt, you'd have to use gas, which will self-ignite. If you were on a site or you were at home and you were pre-chilling the fridge before your trip, you can put on a 230 volt, which is this one here, and it'll act as a household fridge. So normally what we say is, a couple of days before you go away, you'd want to hook the vehicle up, give the batteries a chance to charge, put the fridge on, put it on to 230 volt, allow that to cool for a day. The day after, put your shopping in, allow that to chill overnight, and then when you're ready to travel, you'd use the next source, which is 12 volt, and that it'll get a 12 volt feed off the engine, and it'll keep the temperature that the fridge is currently at. So it'll get no cooler, but it'll get no warmer. But if it's being pre-chilled, either moving from site to site or from home to your first site, with your shopping should stay nice and edible and fresh until you then go back to either 230 volt, or if you're wild camping, you switch on to gas. This one is a frame freezer, so it just stops the rubbers from getting stuck to the door when the fridge is on full temperature. And this is your temperature gauge here, so full, you can drop it down. So when pre-chilling, have it on full. Once you get your shopping in, just drop it down so it doesn't freeze the fridge. Catches to lock it when travelling to stop the doors from opening when driving. And then when you are winterising and not using the vehicle, you'll want to take everything out, you'll want to give the fridge a wipe out, and then you'll want to leave the doors open. So what you can do is just lock the catch and then rest the doors up against the latch in the middle, and as you can see there, they're not closed, but it'll allow an air circulation in and out the fridge to stop smells in the van. Behind the fridge, underneath the rear U-shaped lounge, is the location of your boiler. So your boiler holds 10 litres of water at any one time. When in the winter, when the temperatures drop and you're not using the vehicle, we always recommend that you drain down the system. So to drain it down, just down the left hand corner, there's a blue diamond, which is just this valve here, which is known as a anti-frost valve. So once that detects 3 degrees, it will automatically let the water out of the boiler. But we don't become reliant on it, because if it ever becomes faulty and you've become reliant on it, you could be in for an expensive repair bill. So the best thing to do is put your hand down, turn the diamond, a button will pop out on this side of the valve, so facing the wall of the vehicle, and that'll allow the water out. When you come to reuse it, turn the diamond first on the top and then push the button in, which is, the button's just on this side here at the very bottom, little blue button. But once you've opened the valve, open all the taps within the vehicle, remove your shower head from your hose, lie that in the shower tray, open the fresh and the wastewater, and then when you come to reuse it, shut the valve, shut all your taps, shut your fresh and your waste drain valves, fill the vehicle with cold water via a hose pipe. Then you would come in, put the panel on, put the pump on, and go to the cold side of the tap first. Pressurise the water through the cold first, you'll get an automatic flow of cold water. Go to the hot side, it'll cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises until you get a free flow of water from the hot side. This is when you know that your system is primed. Once you've done, say, the kitchen tap, just check the hand basin tap that the hot water supply is coming through pressurized and it isn't coughing and spluttering, because you may have to do each tap individually. But remember, drain it down, because if you don't, it isn't covered under warranty, and it's a very costly mistake to make, as these are a quite expensive boiler system. To create the U-shaped lounge into a bed, you need to push your table down into this position, and then using the handle you can lock it into position. So there's a handle there that controls the telescopic leg, so that's locked. Twist it the other way and the table will be able to pop back up. So push that down, then what you'll do is pull the base cushions into the centre, drop the backrests down into the back between the base cushion and the exterior walls, but turn them round so that the black side is meeting the base cushion, because the bottom's quite thick. This is the right size to go against the base cushion, and then remove the backrests and lay them aside because you don't need them. Then you'll have a double bed, a large double bed across the width of the back of the vehicle. So in the washroom you've got your shower screens, which are just press studded on a little clip there. So pull the press studs off the ceiling and then you'll be able to rotate your shower screens. And as you can see behind, you've got a shower head on your shower hose. Like I said about the boiler, you want to unclip that just because any water could potentially freeze in here, leaving the mixer tap open, and just dangle the hose in the shower tray, as it's got 2 exits on your shower tray, and then some space for your toiletries. Your vent for your heater, your air blown heating, your toilet button. So your blue button is the flush, so to use the toilet you can rotate it into the middle. You'd press the blue button, making sure that you had enough water on board, and you get your flush. So you'd always want to put a bit of water in there first to lubricate the seal between the blade and the cassette. And then what you want to do is you want to open the blade, which is this grey lever here, so slide this towards you to the right and the blade will open. You can now use the toilet and everything will go into the cassette. And then once you've finished, you would flush and slide away from you to the left to close the blade. That'll then allow you to get the cassette out. When it indicates on here, just underneath the diagram, because the mechanism is now not engaged. Should the cassette not come out, it's because the mechanism is engaged and it's stopping it from leaving the vehicle. Cabinet underneath the sink, showing that your water system is working, and this is on your hot side of your tap, so that water is getting hot there. Yeah, that's really warm. And then you do have your light switch here, toilet roll holder, push the doors in, and you've got loads of space for your bits and pieces in your washroom. Under the small seat behind the driver's seat is the location of your fuse box. So this is your 230 side. So you've got your main isolation trip test, your charger and your fridge, your power points, and an MCB. So should you have tripped the vehicle out, try here before you try your main site, which is located underneath the small bench seat behind the driver's seat. And as you can see there at the back, underneath the driver's seat is the location of your leisure battery, which is a 100 amp hour new max leisure battery. Underneath your dinette seat in the back of the van is the location of your freshwater tank. So if you just unscrew the red cap, and then to drain off you need to pop your hand in the tank and you'll see the little green plug. You need to pull that out to allow all the water to drain out the freshwater tank in the winter when you winterize in the vehicle. If you've taken on any source of contaminated water or you're simply not using the vehicle for a while, you wouldn't want the water to go stagnant, just release that green plug and drain the vehicle off. To make your dinette into a bed, what you've got to do is you've got to get your infill cushion. So these two are infills, so is the long one and so is the little short one there. So drop the table down, it's the same as the back table, so you drop it down and then use the lever to secure the table into place. And then you want to open this flap here, so there's a little hat to open the flap. What you've got to do is, this is stored away like so. So you would open here, release, bring this out, and then you want to clip the sideboard, which is the fascia, in the side to support the top, which gives you added support for when you put your infill cushions along the top. And then obviously your table is clipped into place via the lever on the side here, so it's just locked. Push it the other way and it's unlocked and the table will start to rise. But you put your weight on top of the table first and then lock the table into place, which will form the bed baseboard. Underneath the passenger seat is the location of your electric block unit. So this has all your 12 volt fuses in at the bottom for all your 12 volt appliances on the vehicle. So carry some spare blade fuses with you, and whatever fuses do blow you can replenish them, and they are 10, 15s, 20 amp fuses that you'll need to carry, which you can get from most car factor places such as Halfords and Euro Car Parts or online. Now in the cab, so to the right between the door card and the driver's seat is the location of your handbrake on the motorhome. And then on the doors you've got driver and passenger electric windows, followed by your electric mirror adjustment, so you can select which mirror that you need. So whether it's the top one or whether it's the blind spot, you've got two mirrors to adjust on each side. To black the cab doors out, so the driver and the passenger, you've got rimmer's car blinds on, so pinch together, slide it along, and that'll black out the driver and the passenger. And then down here you've got your headlight adjustment, your trip computer on the end of your wiper stalk, which will go through your range, your trip distance A, so how many miles you've travelled, your average consumption on trip distance A, your instant consumption, your average speed, average travelling times, and then you've got trip computer A and trip computer B. To reset them, you just press and hold the end of the wiper stalk and it will reset the trip computers. Lights and indicators, and then your cruise control, so you can turn it on, you get the green light in the bottom of the rev count. Get your desired speed, push it up to set, push up to speed up, pull down to slow down. To cancel, you can either hit the end of the stalk or the brake and press the end of the stalk again to resume it to the last speed that the cruise control was set to before the engine was switched off. Manual gearbox, so it's a 6-speed with lifting the collar into reverse, which will bring on your rear view camera here on the monitor and also your rear sensors. So this is just a measurement guide, so at the minute there's nothing behind us, but once we get close to something you'll get how many meters you are away from that object. Traction control plus, so if you're stuck on wet grass or gravel and you're struggling for traction, pop that on and you should be able to give the van a little bit more revs and get yourself off the wet grass pitch. Locks and unlocks, the cab doors, hazards, rear fog lights and heated mirrors. So you'd use your heated mirrors if you're away in the winter or if your mirrors were wet, so you can get great visibility back. 12 volt point, lockable glove centre bin in there. Climate control, so off, on here. Max demist for the windscreen, air conditioning or recirculation. This is your fan speed and it'll go up this scale here, and then you can press auto, so it'll just do its own thing. Full auto, so when it gets too hot you can press auto and it'll reduce the fan speed or put the fan speed on if it's detects that the cab's warm. Distribution, so whether you want it to your footwells, to your face or to the screen, all on here. Top rate your radio, which is a JVC radio. You press your power button, which is this one here, so press and hold and the radio head unit will light up.
I think there are not many.
It's FM, AM, so you press 1 to 6 once you've searched for your station to save. You can pop your CD in here at the top, or you've got auxiliary, which is a 3.5mm jack, and then if you're wanting to pop your head unit out, press in the bottom left, you can take your display fascia off when leaving the van unattended, but that's entirely up to you. Got a little bit of storage on the top, and then to black the windscreen out you've got cab line, so pinch again, slide into the middle, pinch, slide into the middle. Magnetic strips, so you want them to clip together, and then that will black out your cab windscreen on an evening, and you've got exactly the same on the side doors.